Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. It is currently 5:30 a.m. here on the West Coast, or at least for some of us on the West Coast. I know for some of you further on the West Coast, it's probably a little bit earlier, 4:30 or even sooner. But where I'm at, it's 5:30 in the morning. Figure I would just jump up on here, see what's going on. There's some news that's been coming out the last couple of days I want to cover. I figure I would just cover them all in one go in one live episode versus trying to create, various videos covering it. Sometimes it's just easier just to jump online, see how everyone's doing. So, also today, outside of today's live show, I got several videos going to be dropping today. 3 trailer reviews plus 2 movie reviews. I did start watching. I'm going to finish it this morning after the live show, which is Popeye's Revenge. Now, I am, in a way, I feel if you have, I feel like I'm taking the bullet for many of you. I feel like I'm putting myself out there. I'm the sacrificial lamb that is going to watch this film, going to take an hour and 29 minutes of my life, of my day, and watch this because when we first saw this, if you recall, we've covered this film, and when we first saw the images, the still images of this, I thought, in my opinion, it looked promising, right? We had some very dark images as far as, if you recall, there was one where we were standing behind what we knew to be Popeye. He had an anchor, like a small anchor in his hand, and someone was across this pond or lake, and we figured, okay, he's probably going to take them out, right? And then we saw a very, very brief image of him on a boat. He didn't have the look, right, like the jawline, the chin, because keep in mind, I think there's 3 different Popeye horror films coming out now. Again, this is the one that just released on Amazon Prime, and I believe it is the one that's called Popeye's Revenge. I can double check it though real quick because, again, I just started this last night, and I'm going to say thus far, avoid it. I'm about, like I said, it's an hour and 29 minutes. Yeah, it's Popeye's Revenge. It just came out. Again, yeah, this was the one, like I said, he doesn't look much like the character, and the other ones that are coming out, they did kind of add a lot more makeup to him to give him that much more cartoon look to his face. Now, the way it starts off with, I mean, and I'm gonna spoil it here a little bit. It does start off a little bit like Joker Folie Do, right? You know how if you've seen Joker Folie Do, it starts off with as a cartoon. This starts off very much like that, not a full blown colored cartoon, but it's more like an animated drawing that we're getting his backstory on, and then it goes into the movie. And some of the parts on this film, it are just the acting is just atrocious. And as you could expect, it's Popeye's Revenge. So I mean, I'm not expecting top tier acting. However, you do expect some level of care and wanting to do well. I mean, especially if it's your first acting job, if you're trying to make it big. But the acting thus far in this film, you're watching it thinking, why are you watching this? Or why am I watching this? But I'm going to finish it today. I'll put up my review either later today or tomorrow. I know some people have been looking forward to this. I will not spoil it because it just came out. But thus far, of the 3 Popeye horror films, unless the other 2 are just substantially better as far as gore and graphics and things of that nature, Popeye's Revenge is not, it's not panning out. And again, I wasn't holding this on a pedestal. I want to be clear, because we also did a trailer review for this, and when I even did the trailer review for Popeye's Revenge, I even said then this does not look good. But like I've always said, I'm going to give any film or TV series a chance to win me over, even a film like Popeye's Revenge. And thus far, like I said, about 20 minutes in, I have about an hour and 9-10 minutes left. I'm not won over. I'm just okay. I've spent the money to rent it. I'm going to finish it because I'm not just going to waste the money to throw away. So as soon as I finish watching that today, it will be up on the channel. But again, I will not spoil it because I know some people are really big into these public domain films like, we've seen ones on Winnie the Pooh. We've seen, we're supposed to get Pinocchio at some point this year. So going to be checking out Popeye's Revenge today. Again, that will be up. I also recently just watched another film, uh, totally killer. It's an Amazon original. It came out in 2023. I'm not too sure how many people watched this or saw this. I will post my review on that. It's a horror. It's one of those horror comedies, horror black comedies. Now I will post my full review on that film as well. And I know what you're thinking. We've been down this road before as far as my feelings on comedy and horror. I've explained that to ad nauseum. I don't think I necessarily need to explain that any further as far as, my feelings on comedy and horror and how I define comedy and horror. So if you don't know about that, it's like I said, it's in various other previous videos and even live feeds. So I am going to post my review on that. Now I will do a spoiler review on that film only because, again, that one's been out since 2023. I feel if you were going to watch it, you would have watched it by now, or if you saw it and read about it, you just said, yeah, I'm not watching that. It had decent Amazon Prime reviews and decent DB reviews. I mean, it was mid on IMDb. Amazon had it a bit higher. I thought I would give it a chance, and yeah, again, an hour and 45 minutes. I wish I could get back because the premise I understand, but the premise literally falls apart as soon as things start happening, and then the rest of the film doesn't make sense as far as the changes that take place. And I'll explain this in the movie review when we get to it, but we are going to now jump into a few news updates for this morning, and then I'll let everyone get back to your day. So let's jump into some of these updates that we have to cover off on. So we see here, if you didn't know, Hulu's been putting out and has quite a few original content. I mean, I think they kind of started following in suit with Netflix. I mean, Netflix puts out a ton of original content. And if you haven't checked any of it out, I would highly recommend you do because a lot of it is really good, especially if you are also big into documentaries. Netflix, I feel, is probably one of the best streaming companies, studios, whatever you want to call them, that does put together very well made documentaries. But all that to say is, Hulu's been putting out a lot of original content as well. And I've noticed they've been putting out a lot of original horror content. And now they're adding another one to the list. So we have here Hulu original horror Control Freak pits Kelly Marie Tran against a parasitic demon. Now we do have a few first images here. This is going to be coming soon. It comes out on March 13th, so not that far away. Now, I don't know if this is going down as we see here. I've read through this briefly. As I just mentioned, it does star Kelly Marie Tran. You may, as you see up here, you may recognize her from, for those of you who are Star Wars fans, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. But it's starring alongside Tran and Control Freak are Miles Robbins as Valerie's husband, Robbie, Toyon Lee as Valerie's father, and Kyo Chin as Aunt Thai Thu. Control Freak initially started life as a short, but now titled Control, which featured in the second season of Hulu's bite-sized Halloween. The film will be available on Disney Plus internationally. So, that's always been a question when we cover things for Hulu, whether or not it's going to be on Disney Plus for international people who who do have Disney Plus. So as you can see, it will be there as well. So again, we have down here below some first look images. Now, I find it interesting that it's being based on a demonic or demon parasite. Now, I don't know if that necessarily means this is going to fall within the, subgenre or genre of, could it be body horror? I mean, because if the parasite's within her, do we go down that route possibly? Or do we find ourselves possibly down the religious horror, demonic possession, exorcism type, process? It doesn't really give us any details as to where we're going to go with that. Because again, right here, she says, which eventually leads into a terrifying journey as she battles a parasitic demon from her homeland. So unless this is something that's more along the lines of, our traditions talk about this, particular demon or this particular entity, and that's what's, taking a hold of her, then, I'd imagine then they'll use whatever traditions, historical traditions to get rid of that parasitic demon from her. So, reading that, maybe they don't go down the body horror or religious horror subgenres. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what subgenre this would fall into, but I mean, we are either way. We're getting more horror content. I guess that's the bulk of what we're trying to get at here. So, be on the lookout for Control Freak. It says it's going to hit streaming on March 13th. Uh, I mean, if you're into this type of horror stuff, I mean, I know many people aren't into this type of stuff when it comes to parasites, bugs, things like that. But like I said, give it anything a try. You might enjoy it. So, all right. So this news I wasn't surprised to hear about. I was just thinking it was a matter of time, and it's been a while since we've heard any Terrifier news. So, Bloody Press releasing Tim Wagner's Terrifier 3 novelization this year. So, also, side note, I know we covered this last year before Terrifier 3 came out, and I think I talked about this a couple episodes ago. The popcorn buckets for Art the Clown that AMC was doing. So, if you pre ordered those last October, November ish, those should have started shipping. I'll be surprised if many of you haven't already started getting them. I haven't checked eBay. I'm sure on eBay there's going to be probably, for those of you who have received them, let's take a look here. Art the Clown popcorn bucket. Let's see if anyone's. Yeah, I mean, people have already started receiving them and posting them on eBay. I mean, people are posting them for as high as, I mean, I'm seeing some here at 60 or best offer, but $10 delivery. And by the time you put tax and everything on that, it's going to add up. But I mean, there's some for buy it now at 110. Someone's charging almost $50 delivery. This one is 100. Well, they're selling maybe two for 175. So I mean, people are definitely asking a premium for them. I should have mine either today or tomorrow. I did order a couple of them. I did actually order them for somebody else. So we will do a brief unboxing of them, and then they will go right back into the box, just waiting to be shipped out. So yeah, I just wanted to just call out because I know many of you may have started to receive them or not. You should be receiving them any time now. So back to this again. I'm not surprised. Like I said, it's been a while since we've gotten any Terrifier news in general, and let alone Terrifier 3. So, yeah, and it's just I'm not surprised. So let's just jump down to some of these details here. The world of Damien Leone's Terrifier 3 will explain with the official novelization. Cineverse has announced today. It's going to be a release with Cineverse and Bloody discussing his new publishing arm, Bloody Press. We already talked about who the author is. He also did Terrifier 2, Halloween Kills, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. So, I mean, he's obviously an experienced author, not to say he's not. Again, this is just solely about the fact that I was wondering what was taking so long for us to get a Terrifier 3 book. Because when Terrifier 3 came out, and again, when it was just an onslaught of just follow-ups to the film, meaning there was so much popularity for this film, and then it just garnered so much more after its release and its success. Usually something like this comes pretty quickly, but yeah, we're getting a Terrifier 3 novel. I wonder what differences there will be between this novel and the actual film. Now, we always tend to find that when you compare a book to a movie, I always find the books are typically better than the movies, and I understand that because in a book you can put a lot more detail into it. You don't have to worry about cutting things out. You don't have to not so much censor yourself from the fact of the content, but as far as the length of the content, right? In a movie, you of course have to at some point say, yeah, we got to cut it here. We can't make the movie any longer. So with books, I tend to think that they are a little bit better because you get more of the story. So I will be interested to see if they what additional story they do put in though, if it would have helped explain the movie better or make the movie go along a little bit further, had those details from the novel been in the film. So I don't know. I don't know if it's said if we have a date yet when we're going to get this novel. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't have a date when we're going to get this Terrifier 3 book, but we know it's coming. And it's just one more thing I think that Damien can add to the list. He can, check that box off on the success of Terrifier 3. Now, I'm wondering though, since he's already come out and said Terrifier 4 is going to be the last Terrifier film, I'm wondering, and he also stated supposed to be getting backstory of Art the Clown, and he's supposed to amp up the gore. I'm not sure how much more amped up gore you can. I know you can. Don't get me wrong, but as far as for a Terrifier film, I'm not sure how much more amped up gore you can get without going just nonstop, constant gore and losing the story. Which I know a lot of people not complained, but pushed back on that when it came to Terrifier 3. I felt like you had two different camps. You had the camp that wanted the gore, they wanted the kills, and then you had the camp that kind of wanted more story and more progression. And so I know he's going to try to find that balance. And I've said this before, I wasn't a big fan of Terrifier 3. If I look at the three films, I'm a bigger fan of Terrifier 2. That would be my favorite of the three films. I just hope with the fourth one, even though we're going to get backstory, I'm hoping it's not done where we're constantly jumping back and forth between present time and backstory. If it's done maybe through some flashbacks where, Art the Clown is, in the midst of killing somebody, and then he all of a sudden has a flashback while he's doing it, or something triggers him to have a flashback and we see that backstory. Maybe there's a clean way to do it. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, I think you're just better off just doing a Terrifier 4 film straight as is. And if you want to give backstory, do a spin-off film of a sequel prequel situation and give Art his backstory. So, all right. So I'm not sure if this really falls within horror or if there's really a subgenre for horror. But I wanted to bring this up just in case some people felt. We do cover some science fiction on here. I don't cover much science fiction. Obviously, if it's science fiction horror, we cover it. If it's just straight up science fiction, I do cover it to an extent, like when it comes to like the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits, things like that. I do cover that because I absolutely love those shows. And I do feel that there is some level of horror within those shows. And side note, I will be doing a full series on both of those. So I will be doing I know many people probably haven't seen the original series of either one of those shows and those seasons. So my plan is we're going to be doing a episode by episode summary, just like we would any TV show today, right? An episode gets dropped, we watch it, we review it, we give our opinions on it, and then we move on to the next episode. So that's what we're going to be doing with the original Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. I even thought about doing Dark Shadows. Now, Dark Shadows would be a big lift because it is a lot of content. So that would probably fall third on the list just because, again, the amount of content that's there that has to be watched on top of everything else that's coming out that I'm currently watching. So I brought this one up because I thought it was interesting. A UFO conspiracy thriller from Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski ignites bidding war. Now, there's not much here to go on. The only thing that's in here it mentions is right here, little is known about the plot, but it's described as all presents men with UFOs, no stars attached, and the budget range is unclear, but it is seeking a green light. And then if we scroll down here a little bit further, it states Amazon, Apple, Lionsgate, Paramount, and Warner Bros. Are among the interested studios, with sources saying bidding is escalating quickly and aggressively. So it makes me, are we going down like a potential Independence Day situation where they feel like this story could be and I say Independence Day, like the original Independence Day, the first one where it was an absolute blockbuster for that year it came out. Because you typically, don't see a story like this and this many studios supposedly aggressively and quickly escalating the bidding war. And one studio I'm kind of surprised to even see in here is Warner Brothers, just because Warner Brothers hasn't been doing well as far as financially over the last few years, several years. And I mean, they're putting a lot of money into their new DCU. That's it's already kicked off, but I think many fans are just waiting. They don't feel it's truly kicked off until Superman comes out. But I don't see them. Well, I don't even see why they're in this. But again, it's mentioning it's a sci-fi thriller, science fiction. So I'm not really sure if this is going to fall within the horror genre. But I thought it'd be worth bringing up now, just in case this does become something as we get more information on it. That are they going to? Are they feeling that they have their new Independence Day after all these years, and especially after the sequel was just an absolute bomb and just an atrocious of a film? I'm okay. I mean, I'm not big into UFO films. Those. Again, I don't know if it's really a subgenre of horror. I do understand. I do know there's science fiction horror. Those I love. But when it comes to aliens, UFOs, I just don't really know. We've really haven't seen that many of them in more recent times. Now, before, if we think previously, I know we've gotten plenty of those. But right now, I just don't feel like we've gotten enough of them to say, yeah, this is the route we want to go. I mean, we've talked about this before. When it comes to body horror, and I've cautioned on this. Once this, we've gotten plenty of body horror films in the past, subgenre body horror. The substance is not the one that invented body horror, and I know that. I think many people, many horror fans know that as well. I think the substance just happened to put body horror in everyone's face to say this is a subgenre, and the fact of who was in it, and I think the impact that film had, I think it just surprised many people, and that's why I feel now we're just getting an abundance of body horror films, and we've talked about this, and we're seeing it. I think we've covered in the past couple of weeks 2 or 3 body horror films that are now going to be coming out either this year or now getting the green light to move forward by 2026. So I don't know if this is going to be another one of those things where you have all these studios in this massive bidding war for whatever this film is, where they've just given us this one sentence description, and we're going to now see an abundance of science fiction horror, UFO, alien type horror films. Where again, I caution because we already have the Alien franchise that kind of re-kicked off with Romulus. That's going to be continuing, not just with Alien Earth, but with a lot of other projects. There's also word that they're trying to get Predator back up and moving again. So I feel, again, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we're going to have an abundance of a subgenre. And I think while it's exciting to see some come out, when you start flooding the arena, so to speak, I feel that then it's just like too much is, too much, right? I'm okay with a few films in the subgenre, but when you start just hitting me with one after another, it just becomes daunting, and it's like, okay, I want to see something else besides science fiction horror. I want to see something else besides body horror, right? I mean, that's just me. I like to have a variety, and that's why I like having the variety of new ideas and new concepts come out, not just the constant things within one subgenre. So we'll have to wait and see how this one goes. Again, I just wanted to bring this one up because I just thought it was interesting that this one mentioned that there's so many studios trying to aggressively get this in order to then greenlight it and push it forward. I'm really interested in what this story is and how deep they're going to go into the horror aspect from a science fiction perspective. So we'll keep an eye on this one. All right. So for those of you who are going to go see The Monkey this weekend, I know some of you have already seen it. I know in some cities there was early premieres. In my city, there wasn't. At least in my area, there wasn't, I should say. I mean, I live in a very big city on the West Coast, and there might have been an early screening, I think, when they were doing them on like a Monday a couple weeks ago, but it was like across the city. It would not have been worth the drive. But I mean, like I've mentioned before, I have 2 AMCs, 2 Harkins, and like an independent theater. And so I have like 5 theaters literally within 2 or 3 miles of my house. So I'm no short of theaters. So, but there was nothing that was showing this as an early screening. But I know this does officially come out tonight, midnight for some of you. I think in my area, I checked, they are starting to play it around like 9 or 10 o'clock, like 1 or 2 showings. but officially comes out tomorrow. But I wanted to bring this up because many people don't know this, and I thought it was quite interesting. You don't really see this for horror films. This is more of like a Marvel, DC, DC type thing. But if you are going to go see The Monkey, per this article, so be clear, this article does not have the post-credit scene, to my knowledge. I haven't fully looked at it, but I'm sure they don't have it in here. But again, if you're going to go see The Monkey, it says stay seated after Osgood Perkins, The Monkey, for a post-credit surprise. So I don't know if this has spoilers in it. We're going to just jump into it. Again, I can't imagine we have the post-credit scene here, but we'll see what it talks about. If you're seeing Neon and director Osgood's The Monkey in theaters this week, you may want to stay seated until the lights come up. Bloody Disgusting has received word that there's something special after the credits, which we suspect is connected to Perkins' next movie with Neon Keeper. Due out on October 3rd, the mysterious film, excuse me, is being billed as a dark trip from the director of Longlegs and The Monkey, one that's armed with a very serious tone. We have, the writers, information actors. Neon has also has another horror movie together starring Alison Brie and David Franco. We know about that one. We're just waiting for a full trailer to drop on that one. We know all this information about the film itself, and then we have the trailer, posters. So nothing new here, but I just wanted to call this out for anyone who's going to go see The Monkey. Make sure you stay after the credits. Again, this is not something we typically see for a horror film, but you might be getting something special if you stay after. So make sure you stay after the credits, because supposedly there is a post-credit scene. And if I happen to go see it, I will report back as to if it is worth staying for, or if this was just a publicity stunt to get you to stay a little bit longer. All right, everyone, our last topic for today's show, which I thought was an interesting one. I'm a comic book fan, obviously. I'm a Harley Quinn fan. If you don't know, you can see behind me, I have some one-of-one sketch comic covers of Harley Quinn and portrait of Harley Quinn, an original piece by an artist. But I'm also an Elvira fan. But I thought when I saw this, I thought this is an interesting crossover, not from a horror perspective, but also for just your regular DC comic fans. So I wanted to touch on this because, again, it's not something you see come up often. So we have Elvira will meet Harley Quinn in crossover comic from DC and Dynamite. So few people can match Elvira's charisma and appeal, but Harley Quinn could very well be the one. The beloved pop culture icons are set to cross over in a comic book series from DC, Dynamite Entertainment, and Queen Bee Productions. So if you're a comic book fan, if you're a Harley Quinn, so here I imagine this is going to be one of the covers for one of the books, could possibly be the cover for issue number 1. I just thought it was interesting to bring these two characters together. I mean, just seeing this cover, this isn't what I would envision. It's not what I envision when I see or think of Elvira. I'm not sure how far off they're going to go from her true character or what we know her to be. I mean, I feel like they're going a bit far off here just with this cover and how she's acting. But we will see. Again, I just wanted to bring this up for those who are into comic books, whether that's just DC, regular comic books, or horror comic books, especially someone like Elvira. Looks like they're doing a crossover. It does not indicate here how many they're going to be doing, if it's just going to be a one-off issue, if it's going to be a 5-book series story. Doesn't mention, but it is supposed to be coming, and I don't even think we even have a date. So I do know when these things get announced, though, depending upon where you get your books, the pre-orders do go up fairly quickly, and there are variant covers, whether that's sketch covers, whether that's black and white, whether that's just I know some books will have up to I've seen like the 300 25th anniversary book on Frank Miller's 300 story. When they had the 25th anniversary for that, they did 25 different covers for that. I'm a big fan of that series, of that book. I think I managed to track down, I think, 20 of them. I could never track down the final 5. They were hard to track down. But again, if you're into comics, horror comics, DC comics, here's a crossover for you that you might enjoy. So, All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this morning's show. I just want to wish everyone a good rest of your day, whether you are just starting it, it's just coming to an end, or if it's been over for a while, you're already down for the evening and you're going to be heading to bed soon. Again, I wish you all the best. Thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are getting very close to that 500 subscriber mark. So I do appreciate everyone who takes the time out of your day to check out my content, to support the content. It is greatly appreciated. It does not go unnoticed. I do my best for those who do engage in the comments. I do my best to respond to every single comment that's put out there. So again, if you haven't done so, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we will see you at the next one. Peace.